It isn't easy.
It's always kind of wild when celebrities get up there and give these dramatic speeches like they really care about people's struggles. But it's so obvious that they're performing because, I mean, that is their job. Like, they'll say a few emotional lines, maybe they'll tear up a little bit, and then suddenly they're hailed as heroes. Half the time, honestly, it feels like they're more interested in getting praised for speaking out than actually doing anything meaningful. Because in Hollywood, especially nowadays, you don't even have to really actively help anyone, but simply pretending that you care is enough to quell the masses and have everyone bowing at your feet, like every single company does during Pride Month, only for them to just quickly yeet the representation out the door as soon as Pride Month is over. The whole thing is stupid anyway, but I'm just saying, you can just tell all these elites want the credit without the effort, and it's kind of cringe-inducing once you see through it. And a lot of these actresses or actors have a habit of turning minor situations into full-blown dramas, especially when the attention used to be all on them. All of a sudden, they feel the need to make an enemy out of everybody who they expect to worship them, complete with all of these weird, unhinged posts or weird interviews or public statements that make it sound like they're the arbiter of what they're talking about or they've been through something life-altering. And you know what? After watching What We Do in the Shadows, I swear to God, people like this are emotional vampires. They actually freaking exist. And it's funny because the emotional vampire in that show is Colin Robinson, and he too is bald. Jada Pinkett Smith. I don't know. Rachel Zegler isn't, so maybe she will be someday. But there's this pattern of needing to be seen as a center of emotional gravity, even when the issue at hand barely warrants the kind of reaction that they give it on social media. And speaking of this actress, she's once again, at least around this time, in the headlines. So this clip has been surfacing and wafting against the currents of social media.
It isn't easy. None of it is. Waking up and choosing to be yourself.
Oh yeah, because waking up and choosing to be yourself sounds so impossibly hard, right? Like, all you had to do was wake up, take a breath, and exist. Congratulations. That's what most people do every day without needing an applause. And if you're waking up in the morning and actively choosing your orientation or identity, which is what you might be implying here, aren't you kind of then implying that it's a choice? So which is it? Meanwhile, let's not forget, there are people dragging themselves out of bed to fight cancer, go to their chemotherapy, or work some soul-crushing, back-breaking job that is so thankless that they barely even keep most of that money for, by the way, because everything's so freaking expensive. And yet, this is what's being framed as a big struggle. Jesus Christ. Yes, people can be assholes. I will admit that. People can disagree on things all the time, and you might not like it, but let's not pretend that that's the pinnacle of hardship when so many other people are just trying to survive that don't have the multi-millions that you have. Let's not forget the people who exist in countries where they legitimately are hung for just their orientation or on suspicion of their orientation.
Proclaiming a space belongs to you when you don't feel welcomed.
I have a legitimate question. Like, why would you even want to proclaim a space as yours if you're not welcome there? That sounds more like entitlement or honestly kind of like bullying than empowering people. And as a general rule, I don't know who needs to hear this, but no matter who you are, how you identify, what your background is, you shouldn't want to force your way into spaces that openly reject you. Wouldn't it make more sense to let people get to know you, offer them the best version of yourself, and then win them over naturally? Real connection actually happens when people want you around, not when they're guilted or pressured into pretending that they do. Pushing your way into places where you're clearly not wanted is the fastest way to breed resentment from other people and not respect. And it's going to have people fight against you even more.
Teaching people on a daily basis how to address you and dealing with the frustration of reteaching people a word that has been in the human vocabulary since the dawn of time. They, them.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
If you're constantly having to correct people over and over and over and over again, endlessly how to address you, I don't know. Maybe I'm mean by saying this, but maybe that's a sign that you're living in a world that doesn't operate by the rules you're expecting. And look, if people are already giving you basic respect, which, yes, I understand people should have that, right? But you're upset because they don't automatically use non-traditional pronouns without being told, that starts to come off as more entitled than oppressed. Most people aren't out to get you. They just operate on a default social norm. Expecting everyone to mentally reroute their entire speech pattern around you personally every day is a tall ask, especially when you're positioning it like the world owes it to you or something. Try going to another country where they probably don't even have that word in their vocabulary, and then you try telling them that and see how they're going to address you or take that. They're going to be like, get the fuck out of here.
They, them.
Ew, it's so cringe. Like the way she paused and waited for them to applaud her for that. What in the world is going on?
Words used to describe pedantically two or more people. Poetically, a person who is simply more.
Like, are y'all okay? Or
Poetically, a person who is simply more. That's one hell of a way to say you think you're above the rest of us. Like, what makes you more? Because if the whole goal is to be treated equally and with dignity, then positioning yourself as more than or just more, it just sounds like ego, you know, wrapped in this whole fake humbleness you guys got going on. Like, if people being neutral around you are not obsessing over your identity the way you obsess over your identity feels like erasure to you, then maybe you're not looking for equality. You're looking to be elevated. Narcissism and superiority complex much?
It isn't easy to ask people to treat you with dignity since you should just have it because it's a given.
Dignity is a state or quality of being worthy of honor or respect. It also means a sense of pride in yourself or self-respect. For basic human rights, like, you know, having someone not step on you or like putting their hands on you, spitting on you, that is completely understandable. And yes, that is expected, right? Someone not shitting on your head, like, that's to be expected. Sorry, I'm looking at my dog chewing on his rawhide and he looks high as hell. I don't know what the hell they put in that stuff. Anyway, but where was I? Yeah, like basic respect. Everyone deserves that, yes. But the rest of it comes with how you present yourself to the world. And that, in that way, it's kind of twofold because it can be earned as well, right? If you act like trash or treat people like trash, that's the energy that you're gonna get back. And having a sense of dignity is not bullying yourself into spaces where you're not welcome and commanding that people just accept you. You see people from a certain cultural background or something and they don't share your background. You're like, you must do this. You can't wear this hairstyle. You can't use that plant. You can't do this. You can't do that. Like, dude, you're commanding that people accept you on top of that. That's not how that works. Every person, like humans in general, do not like being talked down to and forced to accept things. Now, if it's in like retaliation of you going over and bullying someone and then they're like, okay, well, I'm going to whip your ass, that's completely different because then there's kind of like a neutral thing there where there's that olive branch or, hey, you whipped my ass even though I was bullying you, so now let's call it a truce. That's completely different. But then you go with someone's culture or someone's space or whatever it is, and then you force your way of things on them. Isn't that like colonization? Is it sad when people don't accept you? Of course, I understand. And yes, it can be very, very painful. But the solution isn't to force people into pretending that they like you because that's what you're essentially doing. People seem to forget, but in the past, queer people survived and gained real actual respect by simply living their lives. They were just quietly going about their business, doing what they want with each other, and they didn't ask for any special treatment. And people respected that. They saw them not as some loud, protected class that demands constant validation, but as fellow human beings that are just trying to get by like everybody else. Like, that's how real acceptance is earned. When human beings see that other human beings aren't trying to like colonize them or force their religion on them or their ideology on them. And when they finally realize, wow, that person is different, but you know, these people are actually kind of cool. Then they start to kind of accept them. They're like, you know what? I fuck with those people. Okay. You know, actually, they're not so bad. Actually, you know what? I'm going to actually stick up for those people when other people treat them like assholes. And you have the majority of people doing that, not just a few.
It isn't easy to learn to grow who you are if the world around you is knocking at your door, telling you to stay inside.
Bitch, what the fuck are you talking about? This broad sounds like she's trying to string a whole bunch of words together and make it sound esoteric. And it's just coming off as super fake because isn't this the same woman? You know, I had a clip earlier on in the video, but isn't this the same woman that made it all about her when people were paying homage to the original poster of the franchise that she starred in? Because someone changed it from this photo to this photo. so it looked more like this photo. And we had this multimillionaire woman saying, this is the wildest and most offensive thing I've ever seen. Equal to that awful AI of us fighting. Equal to people posing the question, is your snatch green? None of this is funny. None of it is cute. It degrades me. It degrades us. The original poster is an illustration. I am a real-life human being who chose to look right down the barrel of the camera to you, the viewer, because without words, we communicate with our eyes. Our poster is an homage, not an imitation. To edit my face and hide my eyes is to erase me, and that is just so deeply hurtful. This was her. You see what I mean? Jesus wept, bro. She is so used to playing the victim, but even when she's doing a speech, she's doing it in such a way to make other people seem like victims as well. You know, like misery loves company, but she's kind of projecting here. Like, oh yeah, guys, isn't it horrible what we go through? But what I'm really trying to say is I go through that, which I think honestly is very condescending and insulting, because despite what it looks like on the internet, the people who are acting like the victims and who are the loudest claiming that they are victims and they want special treatment are a minority. Because guess what? Most of the world doesn't operate like that. And that's exactly why these kind of speeches from actors can't be taken seriously. They get up there dripping with this fake sincerity and they're spewing out all this poetic, vague nonsense. Oh, they, them, simply more. Sorry, that's the way she talks. But anyway, it's all of this fake nonsense, fake humility about struggle and identity. And then they go home, you know, they feel proud about themselves. You know, oh yes, I made a difference. I went up there and I said something. But you'll never catch them actually doing the shit that matters. Like, you won't see them on the street. No cameras, no red carpet, feeding the homeless, hugging a disabled vet, going and sitting with those disabled vets or those old people in nursing homes that nobody goes to visit and reading them a story or just talking to them or giving them a hug, visiting a children's hospital or sitting on a bench, sharing lunch and conversation with someone who's down on their luck, a homeless person, treating them like a human being. They've got all the time in the world, these elites, and all the resources to do that, by the way. But they won't unless the cameras are rolling, because if it were really genuine, if it was really coming from a place of compassion like they want you to think it is, we'd see it. Paparazzi would catch them constantly just out there helping people, minding their own business, not needing to be praised. But instead, what we get is a monologue and a spotlight and then silence until the next performance, right? And all these people out there that are going through actual struggles and they're like, you know what? Today, I've just decided that I'm going to identify as this, even though my whole career I haven't, but because I want applause from that community, I'm going to pretend that I am. And then the next trend comes and they take off that costume and put on the next one. You'd be surprised how many homeless people or addicts are out there that just want someone to treat them like they're human. They know they messed up. A lot of them, they take accountability for it. And a lot of them straight up say, yeah, I'm hooked on drugs and I made bad choices, or I messed up my relationship with my family, my parents, I stole from them, that's why I got kicked out. Many of them said that they were rebellious, they didn't listen to their parents, and now they're in this situation and they don't know how to get out. And every time they get money, they keep buying drugs and they want to be better, but they admit that they're hooked on it and it's really hard. You don't know how many of them just want to talk and just feel human for a second. Have someone to cry with and hug them, even if they're dirty, someone to wipe their tears and look them in the fucking eyes and say that you believe in them. And they have to keep trying, even when they fall down every day, even when they keep doing the drugs, they get up and they keep trying. Even if they're stuck in that situation, just sitting down and having lunch with them and asking them about their life. How are you? Are you okay? You know, would you like something to eat? Let me buy you something, you know, just about their passions, what they used to want to do, just to how they feel. It means the world to them. But no, most of these entitled narcissist millionaire people will go out there and say a few words, but the minute someone comes up to them and asks them for something to eat, they're probably the same people that turn their nose up at those people. And the minute that people don't pay for their movies and their movies flop or they're not relevant, they cry some kind of victimism, if that's even a word, or racism or some crap like that. You know, pick a word, it doesn't matter, make up a word. And then it undermines everybody else who actually legitimately goes through those things every day. There are people who are queer in countries where it is illegal to be so, and they actually have to fear for their lives for something that they cannot control. But here we are with people like this woman, pretending as though, I can't even, bro. It's so funny. It's not actually funny, but it's just funny to me because of how ridiculous it is. But please forgive me if I don't believe one iota of this woman's words, given the behavior that she's shown prior and what a lot of these other actresses and actors do. Bros and sis all out there being loud, but dare someone come to their doorstep and be like, can you help me? See how fast they call the freaking cops or security and be like, get off my fucking lawn. You would be so surprised. You have no idea. And I've seen these people, not these actual people, because I don't know her, but in Manhattan, you meet people like that. Oh, I'm an advocate for this and that. And these same people, they just ignore these homeless people, walk past them every day. Someone asks them for food, and they will look at them with the most scorn you've ever seen on someone's face. Crazy.